Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday and Happy New Year. It's great to be with all of you. And I see we have a lot of people who were already joining before we even started the show here. So I know a lot of you have questions. We haven't been doing these lives for a few weeks because of the holidays. So it's great to be back. And I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. And again, Happy New Year. So I always like to start by finding out where you all are in the world. So if you can throw in the comments, where are you at in the world? And also, where are you at in your immigration journey? I like to find out, are you just starting out? Are you in the middle? And we actually have some people who like to come and watch as moral support that have actually completed the process. So where are you at in your immigration journey? Let's see. And Ginger, you know the drill. So you're watching from the UK, and I hope your 2025 is great for you as well. So thank you for that, and it's great to see you. All right. And for everyone who has questions, just throw those in the comments and I will answer them in the order that I receive them. I am streaming this live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. So I'm getting questions from a lot of different places, but I will try to get to as many as I can here in the next 30 minutes. All right. So you are in Maryland and you're just getting started. Well, you're in a great place. This is a good place to be, a good community. So welcome. And you're in Pakistan. Welcome. And you're in New York and just pulling things together. So just getting started with that fiance visa application. Awesome. Well, before I start answering questions, I did want to let all of you know about our free resource center. So in addition to hosting these weekly live events, my team and I have put together, with a lot of love and care and consideration for all of you, a free resource center. That's at immigrationforcouples.com. And if you're just starting out, I did create a webinar that is part of that free resource center that really dives into what you should know when you're embarking on your immigration journey, the options that are available to you, and how to prove your relationship. And most importantly, how to not only survive, but thrive in that immigration process. So you'll want to check that out. We also have free charts that go over an overview, a 30,000 foot overview of the steps in the process, and also a relationship evidence guide. So I'll leave that up so all of you have access to that. All right, so I can go ahead and I will dive into the questions. So Betty, good morning. Great to see you again. And then you are saying that you are in the fiance visa process and you're wanting to know about how long it takes to receive documentarily qualified status for the K1 visa. So actually for the fiance visa, for the K1 visa, the National Visa Center is not going to documentarily qualify your case. That is not part of a fiance visa process. And for those of you who are like, what's a K1 and what's documentarily qualified? I always like to, give some education and overview so you don't get lost in the weeds and the labyrinth of immigration. So basically, for the fiance visa, the very first step is a petition where you have to prove to immigration that you have a real relationship based on love, that you've met in person, and that you're legally free to marry. There are other aspects of that application, but that in general, that is the very first step, the petition. That case, once USCIS, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, approves your petition, your case will then be forwarded to the National Visa Center. The National Visa Center's only job in the fiance visa process is to assign your case a case number and transfer it to the appropriate consular post, so the appropriate U.S. embassy or consulate abroad. We have seen that process is taking longer. Earlier this year, the transfer of the case and the case assignment of the number by the National Visa Center was typically happening in about 30 days. Now we have seen that it's taking months for the National Visa Center to assign that case number and transfer the case. And I did see when I was reviewing the comments before I jumped on here today that someone had mentioned that it took their case 4 months. And that is what we're seeing. So Betty, to answer your question, there isn't a documentarily qualified. However, there is a process that the National Visa Center does to assign that case number and transfer the case. And that is taking several months now. All right. So I hope that helps answer your question. And I just quickly scrolled through Good morning, Lisa. And I just saw great news. Congratulations. That's so exciting that your son has proposed. I know you have been waiting on that. So that is fantastic. I just saw that come up and I had to jump to your comment. So that is awesome. Super happy for them. What a great way to start the new year, right? And good morning to you as well, Maria. Happy New Year. Oh, that's awesome. All right. So, and now the next question that I have is from Annette, and I know you had a couple parts here to your question. You're just starting out in the fiance visa process, and you're wanting to know about evidence and how many pages of evidence, and whether or not evidence is needed for the first step. So, great question, Annette. You kind of have a couple different parts, and it was a very perfect piggyback onto the question that Betty was asking. So, for the fiance visa, for the petition, as I had mentioned, that very first step, you are having to prove that you have a real relationship based on love. Proving your relationship does not just happen at the interview. You definitely, I know you were asking, do we just take that to the interview? No, it's really, really important that you prove your relationship in every single step of the process. Immigration with the fiance visa is expecting that you are proving your relationship with the petition, again at the interview, and then again after you enter the United States and are filing for a green card. So I really encourage you to check out our free resource center and learn more about the fiance visa process and also how to prove your relationship, because that is your burden as the applicant. And it's so important as when you file that very first step, it's important throughout the case to prove your relationship and have strong evidence. But it's very important that that happens in the first step, because that's immigration's first impression of you and you as a couple. And they want to see evidence to prove that this is a real deal. This is a real love. This is a real union. You're right. You do have to also prove that you have physically met in person in the past 2 years and that you're legally free to marry. But that relationship does have to be proved over and over throughout the process, because immigration is wanting to see that continuation of your relationship and your union and see more evidence. And in terms of how many pages of evidence, it's more about quality than quantity. So there's not a certain amount of, like, say, oh, you need to have 30 pages of evidence. No, that's not really how it works. Immigration is looking at all of this evidence, all these different types of evidence to determine whether or not this is a real relationship. You know, trips that you've taken, messages that you've exchanged, photos on your adventures together, letters from friends and family, and the list goes on. For couples who are living together, then immigration will be looking for joint financial evidence. There's a lot of different kinds of evidence that can be used. And there's not a set amount of pages. It really is about quality over quantity. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if you have 30 photos from the same day, that has less weight than 30 photos from different times. So different trips and different days and different adventures. And so it really is about quality over quantity and having quality evidence that really shows all aspects of your union and your love. And we look at it here in Immigration for Couples as telling our clients a love story. So hopefully that is helpful. And that's a great question. All right, and we have some more people who are joining us. Welcome. It's really great. It's really great to see everyone. All right, who is next here? So we had a 6-year online relationship and you were able to meet in person once. It sounds like you applied for maybe some kind of waiver and of that meeting requirement. I'm not totally clear, because I know you gave. Yeah, it sounds like maybe you did not meet in person during the required time frame and applied for a waiver, and you're wanting to know, is that going to come up at the interview? So yes, it definitely can. I mean, it's part of your immigration history and file, and the immigration officer at your fiancé visa interview has authority and discretion to ask questions about all aspects of your case. I'm going to jump to some of my questions here on Facebook to try to do everything in order. And I'm going to get a drink of water. I have been meeting with clients. I have lots of people who've been, their cases are moving forward and scheduled for interviews. And so I have been talking a lot this morning and need to get some water. You are very welcome for the live sessions, and it's great to have you with us. So your wife requested the National Visa Center and Expedite, and it was approved. Congratulations. That's awesome. The email mentioned that it could take up to 2 weeks for the case to be sent to Pakistan. It's been 1 month and 5 days and haven't heard back. Yeah, I mean, just follow up. That's really the best thing to do. Follow up, follow up. Immigration likes to, give an estimate of what things will take, and it often does take longer, but that's great. You have that approval on the expedite. And you can definitely follow up with the National Visa Center and see where they're at with getting that interview scheduled for you. Typically, it's going to take at least a month, but it has a lot to do with the embassy, and especially like you said, you're in Pakistan, that will be where the interview is, what their wait times are, what interview dates they have available. The National Visa Center doesn't get to schedule that interview. They're waiting for the embassy to say that they have availability for appointments. So there's a lot of different factors, but it never hurts to follow up. We do that all the time for our clients. Following up and just poking immigration and checking in and seeing, hey, what's going on? Do we have an interview yet? Okay. So, John, your question is about, and I think that someone else had this question as well. Will the change in president affect processing times? Um, so, yes, unfortunately, immigration is tied. It's always been a political topic, and it is tied to politics, and it's impacted by changes in administration. We did see changes in wait time under the Trump administration. We also were in a pandemic. Immigration was also having funding issues. Immigration wait times are fluid and are have a lot of different factors that are tied to what will impact those wait times. So yes, it is very possible that we will see wait times increasing. And it is possible that we will see additional hoops or additional requirements that will be added to the process in terms of paperwork. It is important to understand, I've said this in other videos, it is important to understand what a president can change and what a president can't change. So there are laws in place for the fiance visa, for the spouse visa, that lay out the eligibility requirements. So a president cannot change those laws. The president cannot change the Immigration and Nationality Act. That takes an act of Congress. However, what the president can change is certain aspects of the process. So something that we saw in the prior Trump administration was that they added in this whole additional paperwork requirement for public charge, which public charge right now is addressed with that affidavit of support. So for those of you who are going through the immigration process, you probably have heard of the affidavit of support, or maybe you've already gotten to that step and you know that they're asking for a lot of financial evidence. What we saw under the prior Trump administration and what we anticipate again is that they will try to bring back some of those requirements, additional paperwork requirements, additional hurdles to jump through. And a lot of the changes under his administration did cause increased processing times. One of the things he did too was closing USCIS offices abroad. Then those cases that would be processed there were kind of pushed out to other offices, increasing the backlog. So yes, it will affect wait times. It's likely to affect wait times. It's to be determined what kind of impact it will have. I'm an optimistic person, and then I'm also a realistic person who has been practicing in immigration law for over a decade. And the fluidity of immigration wait times, it's just they'll go up and down, and it is a roller coaster. But we here at Immigration for Couples, we got your back. We'll take care of all of you. We will help you to navigate the changes as they come, and we'll keep you updated on what we're seeing. But we do anticipate changes. All right. Yeah, and so Rusty, kind of to piggyback off what John is asking, you're asking too, what's the probability of Trump will put like travel bans like he did before? So yes, that is part of the agenda that has been discussed, that they're wanting to implement travel bans again, understanding too that a lot of these travel bans that he tried to put in place then were there was, a lot of litigation. It's probably going to be a litigious 4 years with immigration where something will be, they will try with a travel ban and, have litigation that will follow. Is it likely that it will happen? That is what they are discussing. That is what is on their agenda, to put travel bans in place. Their administration is saying that they're wanting to, limit not only what they say is unlawful immigration, but lawful immigration as well. And so what that could mean for marriage visas is, depending on the type of ban or depending on the policies that are implemented, it could impact wait times. It could impact the paperwork, additional paperwork burden and hurdles. But again, everybody is speculating, and it comes down to, I know as human beings, we just want to have clarity and understand what's going to happen, because it is uncomfortable, the unknown. But we are here we at Immigration for Couples. I'm going to continue doing these weekly live chats as changes happen, as changes occur. I will be sure to make sure you are all informed about the impacts it will have on couple-based immigration and what options still exist. We are still going to be here, fierce advocates for all of you. So I hope that gives you some peace of mind. All right. So, and I see some individuals are asking their question multiple times. If you can ask it just once, because again, I am streaming live on 4 different platforms all at once, and I have hundreds, hundreds of questions. And so I'm trying to get to them in the order that I receive them, and that helps me a lot. If you just ask it once, I promise I'll do my best to get to as many as I can. Yes, you're very welcome, John, but hang in there. I definitely never want to be a fear monger. The media does that enough. Let's just hang in there. We're in this together, and we will get through it, right? We will get through any changes that immigration throws our way. Yeah, exactly. 13 days, we will know. All right. You're very welcome, Rusty. All right, let me go back into the queue here. I was going through my Facebook queue. I'm going to go back to, I thought I saw, maybe I missed it. I have so many questions here. I thought I had seen a question pop up, and I was going to grab it and answer it, but I guess that question is gone. That's all right. Maybe it got answered by someone else. All right. So Damien, you said you can't be added to your wife's lease because you don't have a social security number, and yeah, a lot of the car insurance and things like that. What other proof can you use to show we're living together? So if you are currently living together, immigration is expecting that you have some kind of joint lease or joint insurance and joint bills. If you're going through an adjustment of status process, I know that can be hard to do if you don't have a current lawful status or a current status that affords you the ability to work and have a social security number. So I encourage you to check out our free resource center and look at the relationship evidence guide. It's very detailed and goes into all the different categories of evidence. But when you're going through an adjustment of status process, that does get a little tricky, because immigration really expects to see a joint lease. They really expect to see joint bills. There's a lot of things that they're expecting to see. And if you don't have them, you can submit photos and other things, but that's putting you in a position of having a really not a strong case. So you want to make sure that if there are any bills that you can join. I know some types of bills, I don't know, like your phone and things like that, if there are or any kind of joint bills that you can have together. But check out our free resource center, immigrationforcouples.com. Check out that relationship evidence guide. And you can always, you and your wife are welcome to schedule an appointment with me, and we can talk in private about your particular case and your relationship history, and we can talk about options for presenting your case in the strongest light possible. Because you definitely, like I had said at the beginning for Betty's question and Annette's question, it's super important that the very first application you file is strong, that it has a strong relationship evidence, that it's putting your relationship story out there for immigration to see that it's the real deal. Because this is your first impression, and first impressions are really important with immigration. Yeah, and so Julia, you received, I'm guessing you mean not documentarily qualified, but that your case was transferred, right? That it was, the case number was assigned by the National Visa Center and then transferred. So that's great. Congratulations. Okay, and so you're wanting to know about the interview. So if your case has been assigned a case number and has been transferred, then it's really important that you follow the instructions in the National Visa Center email. There's a lot of documentation that needs to be completed. There's a lot of documents to be collected. You'll be proving your relationship again. And then there are steps to take for interview scheduling. Some embassies and consulates will schedule that interview for you. Others, you need to schedule it yourself. And then understanding that the point of the interview, the goal of that interview with immigration is that they're wanting to confirm your immigration history and background, and there'll be a lot of questions about your relationship. All right. Okay, so not sure, Ahmed, if I understand your question. You're asking about the K-1 visa joint sponsor. Is it okay for the embassy, or is there something with it? I'm not sure if I understand your question, but for the fiancé visa process, if you do not make enough, if the US citizen petitioner does not make enough to be the sole financial sponsor for the case, then you do have to have a joint sponsor for both the fiancé visa interview phase and then later for the green card phase. All right, who is next in the queue? When filing taxes, should a U.S. citizen file single, married filing jointly, or married filing? The foreigner does not have a social security or tax ID. So the best thing to do is talk with an accountant. So I want to stay in my lane of joy and genius, and that is immigration. When it comes to taxes, I will say in the world of immigration does expect or does look for you to file married filing jointly, because that proves that you're in a real relationship. However, when you're going through and you're in the middle of an immigration process, if the immigrant beneficiary doesn't yet have a social security number or an ITIN number, that can prove difficult. And so the category in which you're going to be filing your taxes would be dependent on the advice from your accountant. So that's definitely something to check, with your accountant on what are the options. Do they recommend that you file jointly? Is there a way to file jointly? Typically, you can apply for an individual tax identification number when you're filing those tax returns, but it really is going to depend on where you're at in your immigration case and the advice from your accountant. I did last year record a podcast episode with a tax preparer, with an accountant, and we talked about, and she answered some of these common questions. And so this is really prompting me to think I should probably bring her on to one of these live events, and then you can all ask questions about tax stuff that overlaps in with immigration. But you can also go back and check out that podcast episode. It is on the website at immigrationforcouples.com under the Resource Center and podcasts. All right, I'm going to check on my Facebook folks here because I'm not sure. Brian, oh, great to have you, Brian. So you said a lot of utility companies no longer have the ability to have two people as owners of an account. Yeah, that's really true. And so, and sometimes as well, when somebody already has a credit card, you can add them as an account holder, but sometimes the name won't show up. So yeah, definitely there are times when that happens. And if that's the case, if you're at least able to have both of you on the account, and if the utility company or whatever company is able to provide some documentation that shows you're both on the account, even if the statement doesn't, that could be used. All right. I'm going to go back here. There's just so many questions. I want to make sure I'm not missing any. Okay, so do you have to file the fiancé petition to get a visa to visit your fiancé? So the fiancé visa petition is part of the process to receive a fiancé visa. So if you are engaged and you want to come to the United States, or if you want to bring your fiancé to the United States to live and for you to get married, then the fiancé visa is the appropriate path. The fiancé visa isn't to come and visit. However, there is a tourist visa for individuals who want to come and visit the United States. I've received a lot of questions about that before, and people are always surprised to find out that it's very difficult to obtain a tourist visa to come and visit, especially when you are engaged, when you have a fiance, when you have this intention of marriage, because The tourist visa is just meant for coming to visit. And immigration will automatically think, if you're engaged, that you are not wanting to just come and visit, that you're wanting to come and get married and live. So typically the embassy is going to tell you that you need to file a fiance or spouse visa. So hopefully that helps answer your question, that the fiance visa petition does have to be filed in order to receive that fiance visa. And the purpose of the fiance visa is more than just for a visit. It's for getting married and living in the US. Okay, so you got married in under 90 days in July of last year, but didn't do documentation. Is it a problem if you do it now? I'm not sure if I understand your question. I'm understanding it to be that you were married last year and you didn't start the immigration process. Are you able to start now? Yes, as long as you meet all of the eligibility requirements, definitely, you can get the immigration case started. I will say that one of the number one things couples tell me when they reflect back on their immigration journey is that they wish they would have gotten started sooner, especially with the long wait times. All right. So Teresa, your fiance had a fiance visa interview on December 10th, but it was refused, and they didn't give back his passport or documents. Oh, yeah, that's really stressful. I'm really sorry to hear that. It depends on why the case was refused. And it's common that they won't give documents back, especially if a waiver is needed. There's no way for me to know, if based on what you've shared, what is that reason. There still can definitely be a chance to get the case approved. I've met with many, many couples who have gotten to this juncture in their case and they got a refusal at the interview. They've been doing the case on their own, or for whatever reason. And my team and we've been able to help them navigate that to get an approval. But it's really going to depend on the basis or the reason for that denial. So let's jump on a call. If you don't already have an immigration attorney, you can call the office, or you can book online at immigrationforcouples.com. And I can meet with you both on a Zoom call or a phone call, whatever works best. And we can talk about the specifics of your case, what happened at the interview, and talk about next steps. All right. We'd be happy to help you. Oh, that's great. You got your petition approved. Congratulations. We're all celebrating you. That's awesome. All right. So your wife, we both got married in December of 2022, and you filed the I-130 in March of 2023. And it's been 2 years. Yes. Wow. Do I need to change or do anything for the CR1 to go to an IR1? So you do not choose whether you're a conditional resident or whether it's a permanent resident card. It's based on your marriage and how long you've been married when the green card is approved. You were documentarily Oh, okay. So I thought you had not gotten approved for the I-130, but now your timeline makes sense. The National Visa Center documentarily qualified you in September 2024. And you also were the question that you were mentioning about getting that expedite approved. So the conditional card versus the permanent card, or the 10-year card, again, that's not something you choose. It's going to be based on when you have an interview, when your case is approved, and whether or not it's been more than 2 years since you were married. So there's nothing that happens there. All right. Okay, so Nick, I thought I had seen your question on Facebook and I was looking for it because I swore I saw that it came up, and that's why. Anyway, I found it. This was a question I was looking for earlier. It's great to see you. So you have two questions. Can Annetta go to Lithuania for 6 months to deliver our baby there? Oh, congratulations. 2-month pre-delivery with 4 months post-delivery. Her green card expires in June of 2024. So definitely, filing for, definitely having that your green card removal of conditions filed, and then wanting to know about, I want to see if there's another part. Sorry, I'm getting my bearings straight here on your question. I think that I'm just not understanding the second part of the question with the will I need a resident permit. So let's do this. I'll try to make this clear as possible based on what I'm understanding from your question. So when someone has a green card, you have to maintain your residency and domicile and home in the United States. So you can't take trips outside of the United States for more than 6 months. So if you're asking, is it okay to take this trip up to 6 months? You're not planning on staying more than 6 months, then yes, that is lawfully permitted. That's legally permitted with the green card. If an individual has any intentions or any plans of spending more than a year abroad on their green card, you have to ask permission first before leaving the country. But if it is a 6 month or less trip, then that's legally permitted with your green card. You just can't have a trip more than 6 months because immigration will consider that you've abandoned your green card status. Now, in terms of needing a resident permit, I don't know if you mean for you, that would be the immigration laws in Lithuania. So I'm not sure if that's what you're asking me. And then the other thing to consider too is your child will be a U.S. citizen, right, by birth, and you would have to go through a process to register that your child's birth abroad as a U.S. citizen. So going through something called a consular report of birth abroad. So I think I'm answering things that you aren't asking, but I'd be remiss if I didn't share that with you. So I hope that that's clear. I hope that's what you're asking. So, but congratulations on the new addition to your family. That's really exciting. All right, I am at time here. I'm going to see if I can grab one or two more questions quickly. So you're asking if you haven't been able to meet in the past 2 years because of war, is it still possible for you to file? So there is an option. I'm assuming you're asking for the fiance visa process. There is an option to ask for a waiver of the in-person meeting requirement, and that waiver is something you have to go through to ask, hey, can we still file even though we haven't been able to meet, and then prove what are these extenuating circumstances, such as a war, that has prevented you from being able to meet in person. So it is possible through a waiver. All right. So you're in Cincinnati and you're at the beginning and not sure where to start. We want to get married soon, but want to go about this the right way. I'm in the US and my fiance has a visitor visa. You're definitely in the right place, and that's completely normal at the beginning of your immigration journey to feel overwhelmed and not sure where to start. And so I would really encourage you to check out our free resource center at Immigration for Couples. And of course, I'm more than happy to speak with you in an appointment. We can talk over Zoom and see one another and talk about your goals and your relationship. And then it's really great that you have not actually gotten married yet, because it's so important to meet with an immigration attorney and understand your options before getting married. Because once you are married, the options that you have in the world of immigration start to reduce. But if you meet with an immigration attorney before you get married, you also have an option that potentially of a fiance visa. And sometimes that's a better option. So before taking any steps towards marriage, you definitely want to make sure that you're educated, understand your options, and that you're picking the best path for both of you. And I'd be happy to help you do that in a consultation. All right. These are such great questions. I wish I could get to all of them today, but we did get a really good dent in the questions, and hopefully that's provided you all with clarity. You're very welcome. Have a blessed day as well. And again, I know some of you are asking about how to schedule an appointment. You can go to immigrationforcouples.com. That's at the link below. And I'll also make sure that my team posts that scheduling link in the comments on YouTube, Facebook, etc. So you have that handy. All right. Well, it's been great to be with all of you. Oh, and I do see that we have some individuals who are joining us on Instagram as well. I was going to end here, but I'm sorry I missed these questions. Let me quickly see if I can go through a few of these. Somebody is asking, Molly is asking, that submitted the spouse visa application for her husband and wanting to know if she can travel. So yes, you as a US citizen, you're able to travel while that petition is pending, so long as you have whatever the lawful requirements are to visit the country. And then we have someone here that's been here before from Scotland and just wondering about current wait times for the I-130 processing. Yes, it has definitely been bumped up. It is taking longer. We are seeing it's taking more than a year, oftentimes 14 months for the I-130 approval. All right. All right. Well, it was great to be with all of you. I am going to end for real now. I just saw those on Instagram and I didn't want you to be left out of the mix. So you're very welcome, Lisa. Tell your son and his fiance congratulations. All right. Take care, everyone. I will see you next week. Bye.